In the quiet hush of a small town nestled between rolling hills and gentle streams, there lived a man whose presence was often felt more than seen. His name was Samuel, a gentle soul who walked with a slow, deliberate rhythm, as if each step was a silent word spoken to the earth. Samuel was not a man of many possessions, nor did he seek the spotlight of recognition. Yet, those who crossed his path spoke of him as the man who carried hope. Samuel's story began in the early morning hours of his childhood, in a house with creaking wooden floors and windows that let in the golden light of sunrise. His parents taught him to notice the small things, the way dew clings to grass before the world wakes, the soft sigh of wind through autumn leaves, the warmth of a simple meal shared with love. These lessons became the foundation upon which his life was built, to find comfort in the ordinary, to see beauty in what others might overlook. As Samuel grew, he discovered a peculiar talent for listening. Neighbors would come to him with worries tucked in their hearts, and he would listen, not rushing to offer advice, but allowing their burdens to spill out like rain from heavy clouds. His presence was a shelter, a quiet harbor where troubles could rest. He never promised solutions, but he did promise understanding. In his company, people found their pain softened, as if the sharp edges of sorrow had been rounded by his gentle attention. Samuel's days were simple. He worked at the local bakery, rising before dawn to knead dough and watch as the sun painted the sky in hues of peach and lavender. The smell of fresh bread became part of the town's morning, a comfort that greeted each new day. Samuel learned the names and stories of his customers, the widow who missed her husband's laughter, the young father worried about providing for his family, the teenager struggling to fit in. To each, he offered a smile and a loaf of bread, sometimes with a note tucked inside that read, "You are not alone." Despite his quiet life, Samuel's reputation as the man who carried hope grew. Some believed he was blessed with a gift, others thought it was simply kindness. Samuel himself never spoke about it. He moved through life with humility, his eyes always searching for ways to lighten the burdens of those around him. One winter, the town was struck by an unexpected storm. The snow fell thick and fast, blanketing the roads and silencing the usual bustle. Shops closed, and families huddled inside, uncertain when the world would thaw. Samuel, undeterred by the cold, bundled himself in a worn coat and set out with a lantern, walking from house to house, checking on neighbors. He carried with him baskets of bread and jars of soup, but more than that, he brought words of reassurance. "This will pass," he would say softly. "We'll see the sun again." The storm lingered for days, but Samuel's visits became a thread that wove the town together. Children waited at windows for the sight of his lantern bobbing through the snow, knowing it meant warmth and kindness were near. Elderly couples found comfort in his steady footsteps, a reminder that they were not forgotten. Samuel's hope was not loud or grand, it was a steady flame that burned quietly, refusing to be extinguished even when the world seemed cold and uncertain. After the storm, as the snow melted and crocuses pushed through the thawing earth, the town gathered to thank Samuel. He stood among them, his face flushed with embarrassment at the attention. "I only did what anyone would," he insisted. But the townsfolk knew better. They understood that hope, when carried with such devotion, became a gift that could change lives. Samuel's story did not end with the passing of the storm. He continued his quiet work, never seeking praise, always searching for ways to lift others. His hope was contagious, spreading from one person to the next, a kind word shared, a helping hand offered, a reminder that darkness was never permanent. As the years slipped by, Samuel grew older, his hair silvering like the moonlight that brushed the town's rooftops. He walked a bit slower, but his spirit remained undiminished. People began to share stories of him with their children, teaching them that hope is not just an idea, but something you can carry and offer to others. One autumn, when the leaves blazed with color and the air held the first chill of oncoming winter, Samuel sat beneath an old oak tree at the edge of town. The tree had stood for generations, its roots deep in the earth, its branches sheltering countless birds and children. Samuel traced the grooves in its bark with gentle fingers, thinking of all the seasons it had seen. A young boy approached, clutching a crumpled paper in his hand. He hesitated, then sat beside Samuel, his eyes wide with worry. "I don't know if I can do it," the boy confessed, showing Samuel a failing grade on a math test. Samuel smiled softly, his eyes kind and clear. "Do you know what hope is?" he asked. The boy shook his head. Samuel pointed to the tree. "Hope is like this tree. It starts as a small seed, buried in the dark. But with patience and care, it grows strong, even when the world is cold. Sometimes things are hard, but that's when hope matters most. It's believing a new day will come, even if you can't see it yet." The boy sat quietly, absorbing Samuel's words. He looked up at the branches swaying overhead, imagining the seed that had started it all. Samuel put a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "You will learn and grow. Mistakes are just part of the story. Carry hope with you, and you'll find your way." The boy smiled, the worry on his face easing. He thanked Samuel and ran home, his steps lighter, a small flame of hope kindled in his heart. Stories like this became woven into the fabric of the town. Samuel's gentle wisdom shaped generations. When people felt lost or afraid, they remembered his words. They passed on the lessons to their own children, teaching them to look for hope in the ordinary, to offer comfort without expectation, to listen with their hearts. In time, Samuel's walks grew shorter. He spent more days sitting by the bakery window, watching the world go by, savoring the laughter and chatter of friends and strangers. He found joy in the simplest things: the first sip of morning tea, the hush of twilight, the sound of rain tapping on the roof. One evening, as the sun slipped behind the hills and the sky softened to a gentle lavender, Samuel closed his eyes and smiled. He felt the weight of years, but also the lightness of a life well lived. He knew that hope was not something to be kept for oneself, but something to be given and shared, like the bread he baked each morning. As darkness settled and the stars appeared, the town fell quiet. In homes warmed by kindness, families gathered, telling stories of the man who carried hope. They spoke of his gentle ways, his steady presence, the way he made burdens bearable simply by being there. They remembered the storm, the lantern in the snow, and the words that promised morning would come. Samuel's legacy was not written in books or carved in stone. It was felt in the hearts of those who had known him, in the way they treated each other, in the gentle acts of kindness that became a daily ritual. The bakery continued to fill the mornings with the scent of fresh bread, and sometimes, a note would be tucked inside: "You are not alone." Hope, Samuel believed, was the quiet foundation of every life. It was the belief that tomorrow held possibility, that pain could be softened by love, and that each person, no matter how ordinary, could carry hope for someone else. It was not a burden, but a blessing, a light in the darkness that never truly faded. As the years passed, the town changed and grew, but the memory of Samuel lingered. New families arrived, drawn by stories of a place where kindness was a language spoken fluently. The bakery became a symbol of comfort, a gathering place where hope was baked into every loaf. Children learned to knead dough, to listen, and to offer a gentle word to those who needed it. On quiet nights, when the wind rustled through the trees and the world seemed still, people remembered Samuel's favorite saying: "Hope is carried in the heart, and when you share it, the world becomes just a little bit brighter." And so, the story of the man who carried hope became a gentle lullaby, whispered from one generation to the next. It was a reminder that even in the darkest times, a single act of kindness, a quiet word of reassurance, or a simple loaf of bread could make all the difference. In the end, Samuel's gift was not extraordinary. It was the gift of presence, of listening, of believing in tomorrow. It was the willingness to walk through the snow, to sit beneath an old tree, to offer comfort without judgment. It was the understanding that hope, once carried, could never be lost. It would live on in every heart it touched. So, as you settle into the quiet of this night, let the story of Samuel wrap around you like a warm blanket. Remember that hope is always near, waiting to be carried, waiting to be shared. Let the gentle rhythm of his life guide your thoughts, soothing away worries, inviting sleep. May you find comfort in the ordinary, beauty in the simple, and hope in the gentle acts of kindness that fill your days. And as you drift into peaceful rest, know that you, too, carry hope, and that your light is part of a story that never ends. Sleep well, and let the quiet wisdom of Samuel's life be a balm for your heart. The world is full of ordinary wonders, and in each, there is hope, steady, gentle, and always within reach.